This is New York One Live at 10. Here's what we're following tonight. Mourners come together to remember a young subway surfer killed 1 year ago today. Lewis Finley standing by. Plus, we're learning that a black doll was found at a local college with a noose around its neck. What officials are saying tonight about the alleged offenders. And will artificial intelligence one day improve your work, or will it wipe out your job? Justine Ray with a special report. Those stories and more happening now on New York One Live at 10. Thanks for being here with us on this Tuesday night. I'm Cheryl Wills, and we begin tonight in Soho, where a woman was found dead in a hotel earlier this month and tonight. Authorities say this man arrested and charged with her murder. Police say he has a long rap sheet and may be connected to more crimes across the country. Tonight, Victoria Manna live in Soho, leading us off. Good evening, Victoria.
Well, Cheryl, that's right. That suspect may have no prior arrests in this city. But what we learned from police today is that he has a number of arrests across the country. Now, Arizona police have him in custody.
Arizona police have 26-year-old Rod Al-Mansouri in custody. The NYPD says he's responsible for a murder at a Soho hotel earlier this month. Chief of Detectives Joseph Kenny says officers were arresting Al-Mansouri for stabbing an employee at a McDonald's in Surprise, Arizona. And that's when he told police he's wanted.
While in the custody of Arizona law enforcement, he informs them that he is wanted for homicide in New York City and tells the cops that they should Google Soho 54 Hotel.
Police say 2 weeks ago, staff at Soho 54 Hotel found 38-year-old Denise Olias Arancibia from Queens dead on the floor of her rented room. The medical examiner says she died by blunt force trauma to the head.
A broken iron was recovered at the scene, and recovered bits of plastic that were found embedded inside of her skull.
Investigators say the suspect was seen leaving the hotel wearing the victim's leggings, and that he has an extensive arrest history across the country.
He has been previously arrested in Florida, Texas, and Arizona. His most notable out-of-state arrests include an April 2023 arrest in Sumter County, Florida, where he kidnapped and sexually assaulted a female. He was arrested on that charge and later posted his own bail, on that charge in September of 2023.
Police say many of his charges include domestic violence and assault, and in 2 incidents, the victims were escorts. Kenny says Al-Mansouri flew here to the city from Florida on January 26th, then visited an escort in Upper Manhattan a few days later. The NYPD says it's unclear how he and Arancibia knew each other.
In our incident, in our homicide, it seems there was a dispute over the time he was allowed to stay in the room, and that's what caused the outburst, which caused the attack.
Now, officials are in the process of extraditing the suspect to New York City to charge him with murder. Police say they are now also working with the FBI to explore any additional victims, because the suspect also told Arizona police he hurt 3 other women in Florida. Cheryl.
Victoria Manna live in Soho, leading us off on this Tuesday night. Victoria, thank you. To the other headlines we're following this hour. Borough of Manhattan Community College confirming that a black baby doll was found with a rope hanging around its neck in a classroom on campus this month. Officials also say the alleged offenders have been identified, but no word of any arrests. The NYPD Hate Crimes Task Force still investigating. BMCC says it has a zero tolerance policy towards hate and bigotry. Also in Manhattan tonight, we're getting a first look at new surveillance video showing a robbery at a Gucci store in the meatpacking district. Cops say 2 men and 1 woman told employees to get down and get on the floor and threatened to shoot them. The crew made away with about $58,000 worth of merchandise, according to authorities. The NYPD says the suspects made a quick getaway through the Lincoln Tunnel. No word of any injuries. To Brooklyn now, where closing arguments are underway at federal court in Jam Master Jay's murder trial. 2 defendants stand accused of killing the hip-hop icon. inside his recording studio more than 2 decades ago. Federal prosecutors say Carl Jordan Jr. and Ronald Washington shot Jay, whose real name was Jason Mizell, after he cut them out of a cocaine trafficking deal. Both men maintaining their innocence. We move next to Randall's Island, where tensions boiled over at an emergency shelter last week. That incident, as you can see, caught on camera, raising tough questions about the city's policies. Tonight, Ayanna Harry reports.
Bottles and even a backpack thrown at NYPD officers. After this tense scene on Randall's Island, New York City is now reviewing how arrests are made inside migrant shelters. Officers were surrounded by a shouting crowd as they attempted to take a man into custody.
Because of that video, we're going to do a review of some of the actions we want to take, because I have to make sure our police department is safe and those residents who are there are also safe.
Police tell New York One this all unfolded last Thursday. Officers were trying to remove a man involved in a verbal dispute inside the shelter that houses 3,000 people. Right now, the city is considering adding metal detectors inside migrant shelters to help manage security. Mayor Eric Adams saying on Randall's Island,
3,000 men in that facility. The overwhelming number of them are carrying out the roles here, looking to take their next step in the journey. Do you have bad actors? Yes.
There's a full review happening right now of the security at all of our facilities, and particularly Randall's.
During a City Hall press briefing Tuesday, the mayor was also pressed about the police body cam video from this moment last month. This footage was recorded just before 2 officers were assaulted in Times Square. The suspects are all migrants. The video shows physical contact may have been initiated by an officer after a suspect insulted him in Spanish. Adams telling reporters he believes
if an officer touched someone, no one gives the authorization to kick, punch, try to grab the gun of an officer. That's not acceptable.
Ayanna Harry, New York One.
We move next to the Williamsburg Bridge, where mourners gathered to remember a young man killed while subway surfing 1 year ago. His loved ones using the tragedy to call for change. New tonight, Lewis Finley on the Lower East Side with more. Good evening to you, Lewis.
Well, Cheryl, Norma Nazzaro's son Zachary's death is still painful. That was evident at tonight's balloon release. And while the MTA has done things to try to prevent teens from subway surfing, she says she still wants to hold not only the MTA, but social media companies accountable.
Heartbroken. My holidays were awful. Starting from his passing last year to his 16th birthday.
Holidays, life moments, they're all a reminder of Norma Nazzaro's loss.
Zachary was the best. He was the center of the party. Funny, intelligent, wanted to serve and protect his country.
It's been 1 year since her son Zachary Nazzaro left for school and never came home. Zachary was killed after subway surfing on a northbound J train on his way home. He was hit by a beam as the train crossed the Williamsburg Bridge.
I still can't believe this has happened. I'm sorry.
Family and friends gathered around Norma, marching across the bridge Zachary died on to remember him on Tuesday.
It's not about closure, it's about keeping his name alive.
His mother says social media influence led to Zachary getting on top of that train. The viral thrill popularized on apps like TikTok and Instagram.
Social media and the MTA failed my son and other kids. They are going to be accountable for, and they need to do something. And I'm not going to stop until they do.
Since Zachary's death last February, the MTA has recorded at least 5 more suspected subway surfing deaths, all of them under the age of 17. And last year, the NYPD arrested more than 130 people attempting train surfing. More than 95% of them were minors.
I did it once or twice. I did it for the thrill. It was a social media thing.
Zachary's best friend, Renzo Perea, says his death was a wake-up call, but he doesn't know what sign other kids need.
I remember running out of my house and screaming at the top of my lungs. It was horrifying to hear that my best friend has passed away from something so stupid as this.
Ride inside, stay alive.
In September, the MTA launched this anti-subway surfing campaign with messages developed by youth played through the intercom. They're also doing other things like using drones to prevent subway surfing.
I think the intercom can be a little bit of a subconscious reminder. I think something a little bit more substantial can be put in effect.
A balloon released for her son at 6:45 p.m., the exact time Zachary died. The release also for the many other children who won't go home to their parents. While Zachary won't be able to serve his country as he hoped to, Norma says she doesn't want his death to be in vain.
The MTA needs to step up and do what they have to do.
In a statement, New York City Transit President Richard Davies says, "We've said over and over, do not climb on top of trains because they won't end well. And we implore parents to tell their children and friends to warn friends, avoid tragedy by riding inside." And so far this year, the NYPD says it's arrested around 30 people for subway surfing. About 92% of those were minors. Cheryl.
Louis Finley with us tonight. Louis, thank you for that. Switching gears now to the Weather Center. Before we check the forecast, check this out. Astronomers in Australia say they've pinpointed what could be the brightest object in our universe, 500 trillion times brighter than the sun. They call it quasar, and it's some 12 billion light years away. Scientists believe quasars are powered by massive black holes and have been around basically forever. Let's get to Chief Meteorologist John Devitt here now with a first look at the forecast. Hiya, John.
Yeah, that's a great picture. That's amazing, right?
That's an incredible picture that they've been able to share with the world.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's talk about it. So this is a quasar, and this one, like Cheryl just said, the brightest object ever recorded, and in the middle of it is a massive black hole. So this is definitely a big deal. And, you know, something I learned is quasar is an acronym. It actually stands for quasi-stellar radio source. So I did not know that. This quasar that they found this in 1980, but they didn't know what it was. They thought it was a star because it was so bright. But with new technology, the European VLT, what's VLT? Very Large Telescope. That's as creative as they got on that name. That one got to me. All right, here's your outside shot. Clear skies. We're chilly right now, 45 degrees. When you factor in the wind, feels like it's in the 20s for Forest Hills, Bay Ridge, and Richmond. Going to be a cold start to the day tomorrow. Temperatures in the 20s for the morning rush. As we get into the afternoon, we'll see an increase in clouds. So no bright blue skies tomorrow. It's going to be a mix of sun and clouds. The end of the week, Cheryl, is warmer and wetter. We'll talk more about it coming up.
We'll check back soon, John. Thank you. You're watching New York One Live at 10. When we return, a vicious attack on a transit worker. She describes in detail the frightening moments. Nia Clark reporting. Also tonight, threats of eviction also appear to be life-threatening for renters. What a new study reveals. And later, the Queen Bee riding high atop the country music charts. Live at 10, back in 2 minutes.